This is Barbara Block, who has been working at Kodaikanal International School for over 33 years and as an art teacher and has taken up various positions such as high school coordinator, the MYP coordinator, and even as the hiking coordinator. And so, Miss Barbara Block, can you tell us how did you end up teaching in art?
Uh, I always drew. I think the first thing I did when I was a little kid was drawing, playing with art all the time. I have memories going on train journey when I was maybe 6 years old or something in India, and I had my set of crayons and I was drawing pictures or coloring the porter on the train at the station, the people with the goat herder out on the field, and I was drawing all the different people I was seeing, probably mostly with colors, using the right colors. And I looked up at one point and all my drawings were going up and down the train car and everybody was looking at them and passing them around and bringing them back. So I always loved art and I just did it without even thinking whether it's something you make a career out of. It's just something I had to be doing all the time. I never planned to be a teacher. Thought about being a doctor for a while because that's what my dad was. And so you tend to sort of follow what your parents are. Liked biology, but I hated chemistry and math. Well, math was what I really didn't like very much. And chemistry was full of formulas. That was too much like math. So sciences didn't really seem to be my strength. When I was in elementary school at one point or middle school, there was an alumni who came to visit Cody's school and she was sitting out near the covered court with her sketchbook and she was drawing near the alumni hall. And somebody said, oh, she's studying art at university. And I remember thinking, you can study art? Can you really do that? Never really thought of it as an option. And it kind of went to the back of my mind. I just kept doing art without thinking about a career. So I went to university and I did my 4 years Bachelor of Fine Arts, drawing, painting, art history, printmaking. But at the end of that, I said, what am I going to do with it? I don't know. I was drawing. I could sell some art. I did some jobs doing silk screening and vacation stuff like that. But I was invited to work with international students at the university with a Christian group that was doing Bible studies and camps and Christmas programs and host families where they would link international students with Canadian families so they could get to know each other and do things together. I started organizing all of those kinds of things and just saying, I really like doing this. This seems to be a lot what a teacher might do, organizing and planning and arranging and helping people understand stuff and taking them on field trips and helping them know about culture and stuff. So that's sort of when I started thinking I might want to be a teacher. Checked it out and found out they would accept some of my art program classes. So in 1 year I could get go through a teacher's program and then do my teacher training. And it worked. So I ended up becoming a teacher. And that was also my way to get back overseas because I wanted to go outside of North America, but I wanted to be doing art or using art in what I did. And so there weren't loads and loads of people looking for artists all around the world, but there were a lot of places or some places that were looking for art teachers. And so that's how I ended up teaching art and got into that.
That's great. And so, which students who are studying art should take up art as a career?
I think those who can't help doing it, if they have to be doing art, if you have to be writing poetry, if you have to be singing or fiddling and drumming and tapping on something all the time, if it's something that's just part of who you are that you do whether you need to or not, then really look into it because it means you love it and something in you craves it. I remember one student 1 year who was going to do the IB diploma and she'd picked her 6 subjects and none of them was art. And I said to her, you're going to hate it not having art because every time you want to have a free period, you're somebody who wants to come in the art room and use your study halls in the art room. You've got your own sketchbook that you do stuff in on the weekends, whether you have an assignment or not, you're drawing and showing me what you're doing. You need to really have art in there. And she said, no, I need the sciences, right? And about 3 months later, 2 months later, she came in and said, you're right, I need art. Can I drop one of my sciences? Can I pick up art? Is it too late? And fortunately for her, it wasn't too late, and they managed to make it work. Unfortunately for her, her mom was saying the same thing to her. You shouldn't be taking 2 sciences, you should be taking art. So she had family support to make that change as well. So it's always helpful if you're getting good grades in art. It means you've already got the skills, not just to maybe do art, but also to organize and talk about art and write about art. In MYP, it's not just doing, it's the other things. So that means you've got them. But I usually tell kids, doesn't matter whether it's a 4 or a 5 or a 6 or a 7. If you need to be doing art, keep doing it, because you will learn the things you need to learn to make it work for you. You might not be very good at writing essays, but you'll learn how to do brochures. You'll find a way to communicate if that's what you want to be doing. You'll figure it out for yourself along the way. So that's probably my biggest advice if you're thinking of taking art.
I think that
If
was
it
a great
doesn't feel
story.
like work,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. So I think that was a great story about a student and how she took art in the end, and because she was interested. And so, how, what are the advantages of the IB curriculum?
I think it gives you a lot of challenges and chances to hone your skills and to practice and to think a lot about art. There, you can do studio art, but there's still a big emphasis on learning about art, thinking about art, investigating different kinds of art forms, not necessarily deciding in 11th or 12th grade, this is what I'm going to do. You have some media that you'll probably use more than others because they fit you well, but you're encouraged to test and play and experiment with different things and not always end up with a great artwork, but a good series of pages on, I was testing this technique and I got this far and the piece wasn't really working, but now I've got a new technique and maybe I'll use it in my next artwork, in my next piece, even though this didn't work. So it's that whole sense of being able to explore, of having to figure out, do I really want to invest this much time in this? Because IB art will take a lot of time. You can't just say, I'm going to go into the classroom and listen to the teacher and use the class time and I will have an exhibition. You need to be able to work on the weekends, work at home, work on vacation, because you want to be doing it. And so it also helps some people along the way figure out, hey, maybe this isn't really for me, or yes, this is exactly what I want to be doing because this is where I want to be anyways. And so that's some of the things that it gives. Um, It also allows you, especially by about 12th grade, to start making a lot of your own choices. But even in 11, even though the teacher might be saying, you're all going to be drawing, and here's the drawing tools, and here's the drawing techniques, you'll be able to pick and choose which ones work for you. You won't be copying or doing a particular formula. You'll be playing with it and adding in your own things. So it lets you also start to figure out who you are as an artist in the way maybe some art programs wouldn't let you, where they'd be more like you become a copy of what the teacher is good at doing. A good art exhibition, you'll walk into it for an IB exhibition and no 2 students will be doing the same stuff. Everybody will have different art forms and different media. And even if they all do the same field trip piece, they'll look different, or they do their own self-portrait, they'll do it their own way. And so you start to be able to experiment and play and take what the teacher's giving you, but find your own way to put it together. And I think that's the benefit of any good art program, whether it's IB or not, is it will encourage you to grow.
So art can be looked at as an extracurricular activity, but it can be taken as a main subject. And so, what are the
Right.
career opportunities students can take in art?
There's probably a lot that I don't even know about, but things like illustrating and advertisement nowadays, a lot of animation and online graphic work uh, uses art skills, design, layout, organization, playing with color. Um, there's the traditional sort of, I'm going to be a painter, I'm going to be a sculptor, the fine art kind of field. But there's a lot of other things like having an art gallery, working in a museum, having the knowledge and the skills to be able to take what you know about art and maybe use it to help artists, even if you're not necessarily being the artist. So you can come up out of an art school. That student I was telling you about who decided to add art late to her IB went on to become an artist. And now she's working for an art magazine, and she's writing articles about other people's art and exhibitions and encouraging art, even though she's doing her own art. So those are some of the kinds of things you can do. And sometimes there's unexpected ones. You might be an illustrator for a medical book. You know, if you're good at biology and you're good at drawing, you might find that there's areas there. Archaeologists always have artists on their teams, because you can take photographs of things, but sometimes the camera doesn't get everything that the eye sees. And the artist can sit there and say, this is the shape that I see, that we see carved in there, that's getting lost in the scratches and in the cracks if we take a photograph, but I can draw it so you can see it. So I think there's a lot of possibilities, and it depends on people's skills and abilities, whether they go to design or fashion or into, you know, sets for plays. You know, you can start, when you start thinking of it, that there's a lot of options out there that can use art, where art will be an asset, even if you're not just making a living by drawing or painting.
That sounds great. And so, my last question is, how can students balance their extracurriculars and hobbies with their studies?
The trick always is maybe to know, is it a hobby or is it an extracurricular? Is it actually my passion and my dream? I think when you're in high school, middle school, you often don't know. And so you might think this art class I'm taking is just an extracurricular, it's just a hobby, and I'm having fun with it. And then all of a sudden you might find, hey, I really want to be doing something more with this. And sometimes people who don't even take art in high school, all of a sudden they graduate and you hear that they're taking an art course somewhere, because somewhere along the line they realized they really needed to be doing art when they weren't doing it in school. And so they return to it, or they pick it up again and they move with it. Balancing, I think studies always, you have deadlines, you have pressures, you have to meet this. So you want to have a plan and say, what are my deadlines? When am I going, how am I going to meet them? How much time do I have? If I want to be doing art and I do just see it as a hobby, how can I fit it in, either into things I'm already doing, or where can I fit it in so that, you know, maybe Saturday I'm going to draw for an hour or two in Saturday morning, just for myself, because I don't need to do it for an art class. I always drew. I think almost every class I took, my notebooks were full of drawings. I worked art into the things that I did. I designed, you know, if there was a school magazine, I would have been drawing illustrations for it or doing the cover design for it. You know, I might not be writing the poems, I might be illustrating the poems. So if there was an option in social studies to do a poster or write an essay, I'd do the poster, right? Because I could draw. So you look for the things you love doing and say, how can I find a way to work them into things I have to do, so that they don't become a conflict, but I'm actually drawing because this drawing will make my social studies report or my science paper look better. And it might not change the grade dramatically, but it'll probably get me a little bit of bonus marks, because the teacher's going to see how much effort I put in by drawing it myself, instead of copying and pasting a chart out of something that was online or in the classroom. So look for those kinds of things would be my tip. When I took my biology class in high school, everybody had to pick a project and do something. So you could go and press flowers, for example, and categorize and name all the different plants. I said, I don't want to be pressing flowers. I'm going to go out and draw all the plants I can see and try and label them botanically and stuff, and do a booklet of all the plants that are growing on this compound. So it was something that was in my biology class, but I found a way to make it art because that's what I wanted to do. So that might be my tip, is don't try and separate them. Try and see if you can find ways to connect them. If you can, then you don't have to think, how am I going to find time to draw? How am I going to find time to paint? Because I'm painting for the school play. Huh? And then it falls into place maybe a little bit more. And if you find you're really loving it, you might realize that way, then maybe this isn't a hobby. Maybe this is a career path I want to follow because I'm really enjoying what I'm doing.
So thank you so much, Miss Block, and good
Mhm.
luck on where art takes you in the future.
Thank you. Nice talking to you.